None of us could fail to have seen the images in the news of the terrible earthquake in Haiti around or just outside the capital Port-au-Prince. And of course a massive aid effort is now underway to help the people affected in Haiti. Let's get some of the latest information and information on how you can help as well. Serena Tramonti, you're from Oxfam here in the Northwest, aren't you?
Yeah.
Good morning, thanks for joining us this morning.
Morning.
It's a terrible, terrible tragedy for this country, isn't it? It wasn't a well-off country to start with, was it?
Absolutely not, Derek. You're quite right there. It is one of the unluckiest countries in the world right now, really. This is because even before the earthquake, 85% of the population lived in extreme poverty. We're talking about living on less than $3 a day. The infrastructure in the country was already very poor. Many people weren't able to access hospitals, schools, basic food and other services. And in the last 18 months, really, Haiti and Port-au-Prince have been hit by 4 different hurricanes as a consequence of climate change, which means that people have been trying desperately to get back on their own feet, but haven't really been given even the time. And now this happened on Tuesday night and affected enormously the population. We're talking about 3 million people affected by the disaster now.
Yeah.
In a way, the only positive thing from a relief point of view was that Oxfam had already, because of the hurricanes and because of the emergency relief already going on, quite a big team on the ground and a very good group of emergency relief experts, 15, who have now been joined by another team that left the UK yesterday and have just been told has reached, finally, Port-au-Prince today.
Okay, now communication's been very, very difficult within the country as well, so coordinating the aid effort, that's no mean feat either, is it, at the moment?
Oh, it's absolutely. I mean, it's incredibly difficult to find out the real need, how many people need what. This is just assessing the basic needs of people has been incredibly difficult because of the lack of communications. And of course, you probably have heard yesterday how difficult it has been to reach ports and the airport.
Well, the port has been all but closed, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
The airport's been very, very difficult as well, hasn't it? I mean, aid is getting through now, flights are landing at Port-au-Prince, but coordinating that effort within the country. Although Oxfam and partner organisations that have been working in Haiti for some time have a good knowledge of the country and the people, so they are best placed to help in this situation, aren't they?
Definitely. I mean, Oxfam, for example, has been in the country for over 30 years. And as I mentioned earlier, there was this really strong team on the ground.
Yeah.
So we have been working with the community for years and years, and we've got a tremendous network of volunteers, supporters and collaborators, you know, community organizations that work with us constantly. And we've been working really, really closely with them just to provide the first immediate relief, you know, pulling people literally out of the rubbles and out of the ruins.
Just give us an idea in scale, because I think we've all heard about the earthquake in the news, but talk to us about the size of the area that's actually affected.
It's an enormous area, really, because the epicenter of the earthquake was 10 miles out of the city centre of Port-au-Prince, which is the capital.
And yet Port-au-Prince was almost devastated, wasn't it?
Absolutely. As you've seen, hospitals, schools have collapsed, the parliamentary palace has collapsed, presidential palace too. So, you know, every bit of infrastructure has been tremendously affected. But we're really worried because Carrefour, which is one of the biggest slums right next to the city centre of Port-au-Prince, has been completely destroyed. 90% of the houses, if we want to call them that way, of the huts,
makeshift, temporary,
makeshift,
what we would
temporary
consider
houses.
to be shacks.
Yeah, very much so, have been completely destroyed. And this means that an enormous part of the population is now homeless, injured, desperate. Everybody's probably trying to get family and friends, children, trying to meet them at the 20 meeting points which are scattered around the city. Probably, if you are in Port-au-Prince right now, you might be injured and you want to reach a hospital, but there's very little medical equipment available because a lot of it has been destroyed.
Yeah.
Very little medical staff available too, so the situation is really difficult. And the next step for Oxfam, for example, is very much about providing clean water and sanitation, which translates into portable toilets and big water tanks, because there is the emergency after you know, after the immediate relief.
Yeah. So the first phase of what is arriving now on flights into Port-au-Prince, that is as basic as water, bandages,
food.
and food.
Yeah, I mean, the big problem with it at the moment is that because there's no water, no electricity, people cannot have any food or any cooked food and anything. It's really dangerous as well.
We can see images at the moment as well. Terrible devastation.
Absolutely, and it's really difficult to get hold of any fresh food or water or any food at all. So, you know, we are working with loads of other agencies. Our specialism as Oxfam is to bring clean water, to make sure that people have access to clean water and sanitation, and so we bring, you know, special source through which we can clean and purify the water tanks so that people can collect it, and of course portable toilets as well, because it's very, very important, because otherwise epidemic will be the next phase of the disaster, and we really want to avoid that.
Now that's a real concern, isn't it? Just because of the sheer number of people. We're talking around about 3 million people displaced here, aren't we, by this disaster, which is an enormous amount of people in a very poor country. In terms of the aid effort so far, there has been obviously a commitment from the US and other countries as well. It's going to take an awful lot though this time, isn't it?
Yes, it's going to take an awful lot, but I mean, the only hope that we've got is just to bring as much help as possible to the people of Haiti as quickly as possible, because we're running out of time really. It's been already over 48 hours after the earthquake, so we really need to move on fast, and we need, you know, as much international help as possible, that's for sure. And, you know, we have been able recently to face up to tremendous emergencies like the tsunami 5 years ago, and you know, just before Christmas Oxfam pulled out of the tsunami area because after 5 years, thanks to the fantastic generosity of the British public and of, you know, the world public really, we've been able to deliver you know, fantastic development work. We've been able to rebuild homes, we've been able to get people back to the kind of level of normality, and so finally we've been able to pull out, and that's what we want to see happening for Haiti as well. You know,
absolutely.
This is absolutely paramount.
What can people do on a practical level right now here in the UK? Our viewers watching Shine today, what can they do? What's the first? Everyone wants to do something, of course. Our hearts go out to the Haitian people. What can we do on a practical level?
Well, we can donate money. Money is really what we need right now, unfortunately, cash donations, and there are various ways that you can donate. Of course, you can go to the www.dec.org.uk website. It's the website of the Disasters and Emergency Commission,
of which Oxfam's one of the partner organisations of that. Something like 12 or 13 organisations within the Disaster Emergency Committee, isn't
We're working all together on these kind of situations. Of course, we always work with other agencies, and each has got its specialism. So, but you can also donate on the phone. Call in the 0370 60 60 900, which is the number of the Disasters and Emergency Commission, of course.
And that's pretty much coming up on all of the news programmes as well. And of course, it's on our website as well at shine-tv.co.uk. So it's 0370 60 60 900 if you'd like to donate on the telephone, or you can log on to dec.org.uk, and definitely, of course, we would urge you to do that as well. I intend to myself later on today.